Welcome to another edition of Bleav in Lions. It's brought to you by FanDuel, and the Lions get it done at home again today. They are now 3-1 on the season thanks to a 34-10 home win over the Cleveland Browns. The Browns came in with the best defense run-wise in the NFL. Glover, as we welcome in Glover Quinn, the star of the show, former Lions All-Pro safety, with his first comments on this one. And like I said, Glover, number one rated defense coming in. The Lions took advantage of what they could on the ground and through the air and got the win. What stood out to you when you look back today?
Well, just what you said. I mean, we knew they were going against a great defense in Cleveland. Obviously, Myles Garrett is a terror. But Aiden Hutchinson showed up and I thought matched Myles Garrett from our defensive standpoint. But I thought the Lions, they won a game. I don't know if it was super exciting. Maybe it was just me watching it. Offensively, it seemed, it didn't seem like a lot of big plays. But they made enough plays to score. Obviously, they scored 34 points. You had a turnover by DJ Reed that gets them down in good field position to score. I didn't see a lot of David Montgomery today. I think he only had like 12 yards. Didn't see, Jahmyr Gibbs had some good runs. The touchdown run was, a great run at the beginning of the game. But it seemed like everything was, kind of under 10 yards, not a lot of explosive runs. Even Amon, I think he had 2 touchdowns, but just seemed like a lot of short passes, quick little passes, and getting in for a touchdown. Jameson Williams dropped a couple big passes today. And so, I mean, I'm sure they're going to say and be happy that they won the game, but I don't know if they're going to look at this game and be like they played like a great game. But I think they did enough to win offensively and defensively. After that first drive, they kind of settled in. I'm really concerned about the injuries with the secondary. Obviously, right. Terrion Arnold going out, who, still didn't have a great game when he was out there, but he's battling. But he went out with a shoulder injury, and DJ Reed gets carted off. Looked like with maybe a hamstring or something. Kirby Joseph, has the interception early in the game, but then he misses probably a quarter and a half or so after the DJ Reed interception. So he was down. So I'm a little concerned about the Lions secondary right now and those injuries. Obviously, it looks like DJ Reed's going to miss some time. I mean, I think anytime, maybe I just put a little more emphasis on getting carted off the field because I don't know, it was just like I don't know, maybe it was a pride thing for me. Like if I could walk off the field, I'm walking off the field. But he got carted off. So, that seems major to me. But all in all, Aiden Hutchinson played a good game. He's getting better and better each and every week, making plays, forced fumble, sacks, a couple sacks, I think. So he's looking better and better. So, I mean, they got the win. I don't know if it was as exciting as the score may sound. But they covered. I knew they was gonna do whatever the spread was, plus right. 8.5. I knew they would do that. But it was, they got the win and they moved to 3-1. I said this was separation Sunday. So the difference in 2-2 and 3-1. And for Cleveland, the difference in 2-2 and 1-3 is a major difference, right? Major difference. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah, the FanDuel odds coming in, the over-under was one thing we talked about in our last show. It was 45.5. Just at 44 right there. So the under, if you were betting on that one on FanDuel today. And the point spread, 8.5. The Lions, as you say, cover that. As you say, though, not a tremendous feel to it as far as the offense goes and the excitement level. But we're live right now. And a couple of our listeners or viewers are tuning in. They want to think Tom Tetchell wants to know, Glover, do you think they might have underestimated Cleveland in this one?
I don't know. I don't know if
does that happen at this level.
I don't know if they underestimated them, because obviously when you come off a big win like Green Bay, you know that's kind of like a wake up call, right? So I don't know if they underestimated them. I just think it's the style that Cleveland played, the way they played. Joe Flacco is very unexciting player. Cleveland rookies are, they're playing well. The running back played well. I just think it's Cleveland and the way they played. I don't think they brought a lot of excitement defensively. You know, Denzel Ward makes the interception. Myles Garrett, he got a lot of pressure, but I don't know. I don't know if he made a lot of game changing plays. So yeah, I just think, I don't think they underestimated Cleveland. I just think it was the style of game that Cleveland played that probably made it boring, and the Lions just kind of handled business, just kind of took care of business. But like I say, they're 3-1, so that's all that really matters.
You talked about some of the injuries. The entire stadium lost its breath when Aiden Hutchinson took that blindside hit and looked like he wasn't going to pop up. Of course, he didn't. I was looking at Twitter right then, and Enos Rakestraw, he's out with an injury this season, but he was not paying attention and said almost had a heart attack there. I don't know if you're watching at that particular time, but to know that this guy got up, was able to finish the game, finish with a couple of sacks, impact the football game in only the ways a guy like Aiden Hutchinson can, how much did that mean for the Lions to not lose that guy, but have him still perform after that point in the ball game, which was almost at halftime?
Yeah, I mean, you probably could have heard a pin drop in the stadium at that
No
point.
doubt.
I mean, every fan needed the, how when you're on the plane and they say you lose cabin pressure, you get the little mask that comes down so you can breathe. I think every fan in the stands needed one of those at that point in time, because it was just like
Did you see that one guy in the stands? They had a shot. He was like, literally, his mouth was wide open.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some reports coming out later on. But yeah, he took a shot. I think the way he was kind of balled up in the fetal position kind of made you feel like it was a leg, a knee, or something like that. But he looked simply like he just got the wind knocked out of him, and getting the wind knocked out of you will have you balled up in the fetal position. But I think once he was able to regain his composure and get up and run off the field, I think everything kind of calms down when you see somebody run off the field, because at least you feel like it's not a lower extremity injury. And so, you think that you could play through a shoulder sometimes, a hand, an arm, if it's not broken, yada, yada, yada. But when you laying down and look like you're grabbing that knee and things like that, it's just kind of scary. So, Hutch, man, you had everybody for a little bit, but way to bounce back and come back in and make some big plays. Obviously, sack force fumble. You know what I'm saying? Just playing better and better each and every week.
Those were a couple of big plays by a big play guy on the defensive side, but special teams also chimed in here. Maybe one of the bigger plays of the game was Bleav Raymond's 76-yard kick return for a TD. How big are those moments for guys on special teams, especially to have an impact on a game like this in a win at home?
Oh, those are huge. Those moments are huge. When you sit down in the meeting rooms, you always talk about obviously the offense and offense and offense. But when you start looking at chances and to win games, anytime you can get a turnover, anytime you can get a defensive score, your chances of winning goes up enormous. Anytime you get a special teams turnover, you get a special teams score, your chances of winning go up enormous. So when you look at Bleav Raymond, just a hardworking guy, explosive guy, finally got an opportunity today to get a couple returns and broke one, and not only got yards but got in the end zone. And so that's huge. That's a huge momentum builder, changer, whatever you need at the moment. That's a huge play, and to put points on the board to the offense doesn't have to go out and put together 8 to 10 play drive to get points, right? So you get that quick strike. Obviously, DJ Reed catching the interception, returning it, and the Lions being able to score. Those things right there just increases your chances of winning significantly. And obviously, in a 34-10 game, the Lions didn't necessarily need that. I guess those 14 points would have put it at 20-10 still. But those are just big momentum plays. And, if you can get contributions like that, obviously you're not going to get punt return every week. But if you can just get consistent, returns, first downs from the returns, 10 yards, a big one every now and then, that's just going to help you each and every week. And when you can, and when the guys that are blocking know that they have a returner that can make plays, they block better. Mm-hmm. They block harder. They block longer. So Bleav Raymond, shout out to you for sticking with it and being one of those guys that just work hard, and you made a play today. So congrats to you, buddy.
You may not get a punt return or a kick return every week, but and that was a punt return. My excuse, my bad. I said kick return earlier. But one thing we have seen every week is so far the Lions have given up a touchdown on their opening drive in all 4 games so far. I've been doing sports for a long time now, Glover. And one thing I really don't like to do is talk about anything negative after a win, because winning is so hard at the pro level. But when you see trends like that, you have to point them out. You have to address them. I'm wondering what your thoughts are there. Are they starting on time? What are your thoughts? Does the offense have something it sees against the defense they want to exploit early in the game, or exactly what goes into that, and how do you clean that up?
Well, I think a lot of times, offenses come out and they script the first 15 plays of the game. And so sometimes, you'll see them come out and they look very crisp. They look very sharp because, they're running plays that they've practiced all week. They've walked through, the night before the game. They're on the same page for those first 15 plays. And so I don't want to get too caught up into it because yeah, they might be giving up points on that first drive, but they're making great adjustments and settling in and not giving up much more after that. I would much rather that than them to be shut out defense on that first possession, but then they're giving up 25, 30, 40 points the rest of the game. So at this point, it's not hurting them. And they're making adjustments and they're locking back in and they're playing, solid defense. So I don't want to, harp too much on it. But, if we see it start to continue and then teams continue to score throughout the game, then it's something that, you got to figure out what can you do to get the defense to show up to the game at noon or at 1 o'clock, wherever they are, or at 7:30 or whatever, instead of showing up 20 minutes late.
And in the end, that does not hurt the Lions today. They come away 34-10 winners over the Browns at Ford Field. And we'll take this quick timeout for a little commercial break here and talk about employment recruiting, Glover. And that's because finding the right employees is very important for employers out there. And the future of hiring looks much brighter because of ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features that help speed up finding the right people for your roles. You save valuable time. And now you can try ZipRecruiter free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. With ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes. See a candidate you're really interested in? You can unlock their contact info instantly. Over 320,000 new resumes are added to ZipRecruiter each and every month, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill roles sooner. Use ZipRecruiter and save time. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you can try it for free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Lions 34-10 winners over the Cleveland Browns. And when you're at home like this, Glover, especially with their upcoming schedule, 2 games on the road, traveling to Cincinnati next week, then traveling to KC, and then they come home in 3 weeks for a Monday night football game. How important is a win like this when it's going to be 3 weeks before you're back at home?
Oh, that's a huge win. I mean, I think, like I said last week, I think coming off of the big win against Baltimore, you didn't want to come out and roll a gutter ball like, coming off of a strike, right? You want to come out and get a win to, kind of compound on that last win. To get 2 wins like that, obviously against AFC opponents, but you get 2 wins back to back. Now you're 3 wins in a row, right? So that's a huge thing. Now the first quarter of the season is over with. Now you can move into the second quarter, and you got to go on the road again against Cincinnati. Obviously, Joe Burrow's out. They didn't look great last week against Minnesota. I don't think they've played this. I think they play tomorrow on Monday night. So we're going to check them out a little bit. In Kansas City, they've been off to a slower start. They haven't been explosive, like we're used to seeing them. So obviously 2 winnable games. But to be able to come back and take care of your home, anytime you can take care of your home, I mean, that moves them to 2-0 at home. I think they get 8 or 9 home games throughout the course of the season. So we always used to talk about winning all of our home games. Right. So they're 2-0. And like I said, that Browns team, man, they are a sneaky, weird team. Like, they're not good, but they're not bad. They're not excited. Like, I think it's Joe Flacco that gets me, man. He's just so boring. Golly, man. Like, I just feel like, and honestly, bro, I like, this is my thoughts, and I know we're talking about the Lions, but when it comes to Cleveland, I think I think they would do better with like Dylan Gabriel or Shador. Like they're a young, vibrant like team, and they got a freaking old Joe Flacco as their quarterback. He got zero energy, zero emotions. Like, get him out of there, man. And I guarantee you they would be a lot better. I guarantee. But
just to play devil's advocate on that, okay? So you've got a team that's got one of the best defenses in the league. You're obviously going to try to play a lower scoring game and control the ball. With that veteran experience, with the poise back there, being able to have that experience to read defense and that sort of thing, is that maybe not the type of game they want to play? An old, slow, boring game and grind you to 10-7 wins?
Well, I just don't know if Joe Flacco. I just don't know if he fits the personality of Cleveland.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I think, I mean, they got young Jerry Jeudy. They got, Myles Garrett, who's in his prime. They got young running back. They got these young guys. These young guys are just different than the old school guys. And Joe Flacco is old school. Like Joe Flacco probably don't even want those young guys at his house. Like, seriously. Joe Flacco don't want to entertain these young guys. They don't even want to go. They don't want to go to Joe Flacco's house. They probably want to go to Shadur's house with the music on, and they're rapping and having a fun. Like that's what these young kids want. They want to go to Joe Flacco's house and he's sitting down. They don't want to do that, man. So.
Michael McDermott is watching Bleav In Lions on YouTube right now, and he chimed in. He agreed with you. He said Flacco is obviously not the answer for Brown's success. So one of our viewers certainly agreeing with you on that one. I'd go over. Maybe, hey, he probably cooks a mean steak on the grill. He's got that veteran experience on the grill. It'd be working for him in that situation. I want to ask you about this. Right now, we saw the Lions win in a different way than they won on Monday Night Football in Baltimore. Jared Goff, just 168 yards throwing, but a couple of touchdowns to Amon-Ra. But being able to win in different ways, not being just dependent on that air game or being dependent on what Jahmyr Gibbs is able to do with his legs. How important is it to be able to establish that with a new offensive coordinator, building that trust and having guys believe in everybody around them to do their job and that kind of trust going forward, and it breeds winning?
That's huge. I mean, I think that gives you confidence going into each and every game to know that you can win. Because sometimes, when you're a one-trick pony, when they stop your one trick, and that goes for a lot of different ways, right? So when we used to play, we used to want to have 3 ways that we could win a game, and that was from a macro standpoint, in a sense. Offensively, sometimes you got to win the shootout. Defensively, sometimes you got to win the barn burner game, right? And then sometimes special teams, you got to make a play, right? But inside of that, each group has their own thing as well, right? So offensively, can you win a game like you won against the Ravens where we're running the ball down your throat? Can you win a game where they're shutting down the run game and now we got to be explosive in the pass game, right? Defensively, can you win a game where we got to shut down a big-time running back? Can you win a game where we got to stop an amazing passing attack? You have to be able to do all those things. And I think the Lions offensively feel like between the running backs that they have, between the O-linemen that they have, between the quarterback that they have, and between the wide receivers and tight ends that they have, I think they feel like regardless of whatever type of game that we're playing, inside, outside, rain, sleet, snow, sunshine, run game, pass game, shootout, juggernaut, it doesn't really matter to those guys. I think they feel like they can win those games. And that right there is a huge, huge, huge confidence builder going into games, knowing we don't know exactly how this game is going to go, but however it go, we're going to be ready to win it.
You not only called it Separation Sunday, but you also pointed out that it is the quarter point of the season right now. So a quarter of a way through the season, I want you to assess what you saw so far in Kelvin Shepard as the new defensive coordinator and what you've seen so far in John Morton as the new offensive coordinator at the quarter pole. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think, when you look at defensively from Kelvin, it's a microcosm of how the Lions have played, right? We say that they've given up an opening drive touchdown in every game. Right. And then they regroup and they play a pretty good football game. Right. Well, that's like the Lions giving up an opening drive touchdown against Green Bay week 1. They didn't come out ready to go. And then they've made adjustments week after week and played better throughout the first quarter of the season. And offensively, I think it's the same thing, right? I think the first game, they didn't really know who they wanted to be or what they were going to have to be. And then the second game, they came out, they're aggressive, they put pressure on Chicago. Last game, Ravens, they came out, ran the ball right down their throat, showed some dominance. And then today they came back against another team that's a tough opponent. I don't want to take anything away from Cleveland's defense. They are a tough opponent, and the Lions found a way to be productive, play a smart game, didn't turn the ball over, and put up points on that defense. And so I think both coordinators have done a good job adjusting week to week and also making adjustments in game. And I think having Dan Campbell as a staple there to have his impact on the offense and defense and just the overall culture of that team has been huge to give those guys time to find their rhythm as play callers, work with their guys. Because like I said, we can all sit here on paper and in the rooms and the meetings and talk about it, but it's just different when you get in the game environment and now you have to do things on the spot and you don't get to make mistakes. You don't get the luxury of all of that. And it's so incredible to see these guys perform, and it's so incredible to see them adjust play to play, series to series, quarter to quarter, and game to game.
I want to follow up on you with that after I take this quick timeout for Delete Me. Delete Me, they make it quick and easy and safe for you to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everybody vulnerable. Data brokers make a profit off of your data. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. The New York Times Wirecutter has named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. As someone who's active online, it's certainly important to me, and I know it is to you as well, to protect your privacy. Have you known somebody who's been a victim of identity theft, harassment, or doxing? If you haven't, you probably will soon. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. You can get 20% off Delete Me when you join deleteme.com/pro and use the promo code PRO at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to join Delete Me by going to deleteme.com/pro and enter the promo code PRO at checkout. That's deleteme.com/pro, code PRO. Through the quarter point of this season, what is the identity of the Detroit Lions, who are now 3-1?
I think they are probably the best team in the NFC.
Okay.
I think they are the most well-rounded football team, especially from an offensive standpoint. I think, like I said, the injuries in the secondary got me a little worried right now. We need to see the severity of those injuries. And, you know, I hate to say it from a defensive standpoint, but after last year, I feel like and after the scare today, I feel like I'm holding my breath every time the ball is snapped, hoping that Hutch makes it out safely, because he's a difference maker for that defense. But I feel like every time I'm just like, because there's so much that goes on with those guys down there with the legs and getting rolled up on. So, and we all know if Hutch goes down, the defense is taking a huge hit. So that scares me. But I think from an offensive standpoint, they are one of the most well-rounded teams, and they got a great leader in Jared Goff, who gets the ball to guys, doesn't seem to make a ton of mistakes. Now, we always know that Jared Goff is due for one of those, 5 interception games like he had last year. I mean, he's due for one of those. I mean,
he threw his first pick today. He threw one today, the first of the season. We're 4 weeks in.
Yeah, he's human. So we know that's going to happen. But I still think that they are one of the best offenses. And, I think they have to do a better job. I know Jahmyr Gibbs is super explosive, but I think they got to do a better job of getting David Montgomery in the game and getting him going, because I think he brings a different impact to the run game. And I think it takes some pressure off of Jahmyr Gibbs. It opens up things for Jahmyr Gibbs because Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the guy they're trying to stop. They're going to be geared up and focused big time when Jahmyr is in the game. And so when David comes in the game and he's able to break off some of those bigger runs, that opens up things in the passing game. And then once you get that stuff going, then now they kind of forget about when Jahmyr comes back in the game. And then you get some of those major explosive runs. And then it's kind of like snowballing. So I think they got to do a better job of getting David Montgomery more touches. I think after last week, he definitely deserves more than, 12 yards or whatever he had today. But I think they're one of the most well-rounded offenses in the NFL.
I want to ask you before we wrap up this edition of Bleav In Lions, brought to you by FanDuel. I want to ask you, the last couple of weeks, you've used the word maturity a lot along the way when describing this team. And I'm wondering how mature you think the rookie Tate Ratledge has come along, the maturity level of him on that O-line at the quarter point of the season, young Christian Mahogany and Graham Glasgow, your old boy in the interior line right there, what those guys have looked like to you as far as the maturity of their game, because that's going to be a big, big story the rest of the way. Where are they right now in your eyes?
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm an offensive line guru. And I really, just being honest with you, as long as the quarterback isn't getting sacked and we're not getting smacked in the backfield the whole time, I'm really not paying that much attention to the offensive line. So the fact
they're doing their job.
I was about to say,
the
fact that that's not happening, I would have to say I think those guys are doing fine. I mean, obviously you have some growing pains. I think we had a couple penalties in there today, but I think from a standpoint of just being a solid O-line, I think having those anchors on the edge with Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker, and then having a veteran in the middle with Graham Glasgow, you can kind of help those young guys. They both have veteran players to the left and the right side of them at the guard position, and I don't think we've had any glaring things going on in the interior of our offensive line. So at this point, like I say, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an offensive line guru, but at this point, I would have to say they haven't done anything that I would feel like would be detrimental to the Lions winning. They had a dominant performance last week in Baltimore, and they came back and had a good performance today against another tough defensive line. So I'm going to give those guys, it's hard for me to give them an A just because they didn't go 4-0. So I'm going to have to give those guys a B, solid B, not a B plus, not a B minus, but a solid B for the first quarter of the season.
What would you give the entire team?
The entire team, I probably would give them a B as well. I think obviously 3-1 puts you over average, so I can't give you a C. 4-0 probably will put you in that B plus A range. But I think the way they played in Baltimore, obviously helped increase the average. The way they came back home and played today, the performance against Chicago was good. I think the Green Bay performance drops them down a little bit to me, to where I'm gonna give the team probably a B to a B plus for the first quarter of the season. I think they still got some room to grow. But I think from what we've seen, the adjustments that they've made and just how different it's looked from week 1 to now, I will have to say they are better than an average football team. They are one of the top teams, if not the best team in the NFC. But I'm not going to give them an A because they're only 3-1.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're 3-1, and so far B has stood for beat the Bears, beat Baltimore, beat the Browns, and next week we'll see if it stands for beat the Bengals when we talk about this on week 5 of Bleav In Lions here on brought to you by FanDuel with Trevor Thompson and Glover Quinn. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll talk midweek when we look ahead at week 5 in the NFL with your Lions taking on the Bengals. Till then.